Welcome to everybody who's joining us. We're just about to start our 2021 federal elections voter information webinar, just going into live stream mode. Our special guest from Elections Canada is just running late. He's quite busy, as you can imagine, so we'll do our best to run through our presentation and hope that he can join us midway through. So I do see there's people joining us, which is great. So just to clarify your options as a participant, you can, if you have a question, at the bottom of your screen, there's the Q&A function. Joining me tonight is Danya Vasilik, who works for SUSK and the Ukrainian Canadian Congress. And so Danya will be checking on the questions as we go to make sure that we answer as many as we can. And we're, again, the UCC is very proud to co-host this with SUSK. We know that students at this time of year particularly are looking to go to various campuses. They may have moved away from their home addresses. So that's one of the key demographics that we want to encourage to vote as well. Danya, do you want to say anything else about SUSK's involvement at this point?
No, I think you summarized it pretty well. We are encouraging everyone to go out and vote because there are a couple of changes that have occurred during this election season in terms of like campus voting and things like that. However, that will be covered later on in the presentation.
Great. Okay, so we're going to get started. My name is Ihor Mikhaichishin. I'm the Executive Director of UCC. As I mentioned, we are still hoping to have a special guest from Elections Canada join us, but as you can imagine, their days are very busy and he's not able to join us quite yet. But what we're going to do is go over some of the resources that the Ukrainian Canadian Congress has available for you as you head into the election. There's about 10 days to go. And then we'll go through some of the resources that Elections Canada itself has. So we'll do a bit of sharing of the screen so you can see some of the resources that are online. And they do also have quite a bit of information available by phone if that is more convenient for you. So I'm going to just be a little bit clumsy popping back and forth between the screens, but let's start with the basic Elections Canada information. So I'm going to go to their homepage. I know that I received my voter information card, and I hope that many of you have also, but you should be receiving in the mail information about the election shortly, if not already. So this is the elections.ca, which is the homepage of Elections Canada. And this is where you have a one-stop shop. You should be getting your voter information card very shortly. And if you haven't, let's go to the voter information card page. If you don't have your voter information card, if it hasn't arrived yet, you can call or do the online service. So obviously the online service requires you. Oh, there's our friend from Elections Canada. Let me just pause for a minute to find him. Hello, Rakesh. Hello, Rakesh.
Hi.
Hi, I've got Danya here from the Ukrainian Canadian Students Union, and my name's Ihor from UCC. We've just started our webinar. We've got a couple of people online. We're live on Facebook. So we were just introducing ourselves and had just started to go through some of the materials that Elections Canada has. But since you're from Elections Canada, Rakesh Misra, would you feel comfortable giving your presentation at this point?
Yeah, I can do that.
Excellent. Do you need to share your screen, or it's just going to be a verbal presentation?
It's going to be verbal.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Well, my name is Rakesh, and I work for Elections Canada as a community relations officer. My primary job is to inspire and convince everybody who's listening how easy and important it is for you to vote. From working for Elections Canada, one of the things that we constantly look at is why people vote. And there are hundreds of reasons why people vote. There is not one valid reason as to why people don't vote. Personally, from my perspective, as an immigrant, I view the entire voting process as very important because this is the one chance I get every 4 years, or 2 years in this case, where I can become a part of the community, become a part of the Canadian landscape, and play a role in guiding the future of my community and my children. So this is the one time I feel very Canadian, so to say. Um, I think the one message that I try and tell everybody that as a Canadian, it is both your responsibility and your right to vote. A lot of people will turn around and say things like, my candidate didn't win, so why does my vote matter? And my response to them is that the very fact that you voted, and even though your candidate didn't win, you can look at the winner and say, hey, I've got my eyes on you. So let's make sure everything runs right. So your vote is always important. Some people say my vote doesn't matter at all. Nobody cares. And I would say that you might not get a tangible benefit from voting, but there is an intangible benefit. And that is that when you vote, you become an integral part of your community. You're saying to them that I care. I care enough about the conditions in my community. I care about what's happening in the future. And therefore, every time your vote always matters, your vote always counts. With that, let me go on. One of the things that people have been more concerned about during this time is primarily, is it safe to vote? There are a lot of people who are concerned about what happens when I go into a polling booth. And I want to assure you that Elections Canada has pretty much taken every precaution that has been dictated by the COVID-19 precautions to make sure that you're safe during the voting process. For example, there'll be sanitizing of the polling station throughout the day, throughout all the voting days. The poll workers will wear masks. In cases where it's appropriate, there'll be plastic shields separating the poll worker from the elector. There will be hand sanitizers everywhere for you to sanitize your hands. And one of the new features this year is the introduction of what we call a single-use pencil. So when you go into vote and you mark your ballot, there's a little pencil over there. Once you mark your ballot, you can take the pencil with you as a souvenir, or you can deposit it in the recycling bin that's conveniently located there. Moving on to the voting part, I'm hoping that everybody has received their voter, I think it's called a voter ID information card, a VIC is what we call it. If you haven't, it's time for you to call and make sure that we tell them.
Oh, Rakesh, we just lost your internet signal there for a bit.
One is,
Can you repeat? Can you please repeat what we should do if we don't have our voter information card?
Okay, if you don't have your voter information card, first you find out where your polling station is. To find out where your polling station is, you'll go to the Elections Canada website. It'll ask you to type in your postal code. Once you type in your postal code, it'll tell you where the nearest polling station is, where you should go. When you go there, take 2 pieces of ID. Hopefully, it's preferable if you have something like a driver's license or an Ontario provincial ID. You can take 2 forms of ID as long as it has your name and your address. It has to be a government issued ID in most cases. You can also take examples of lease or of a bank statement, and you can do that. You need that piece of paper from your bank or anybody. You just need to take in some form of ID. So if I go back to my 4 forms of voting, so one is, of course, voting on election day, which is Monday, September 20th. The second is the advance polls, and the advance polls start tomorrow at 9 o'clock. And there'll be tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, every day from 9 to 9. The third, which is an option that a lot of people have looked at, is to vote by mail. To do that, once again, you either go to the Elections Canada website and register yourself there. I should very quickly warn you that time is running out for this option. because when you send it in, election and to verify that the information you're providing is accurate, that you're a citizen, that you're over 18, and then they have to put a mailing package together for you, get it out to you, and then you have to fill it out and send it back. So if you're planning to vote by mail and you haven't applied yet, I would suggest you do that like now, as quickly as possible. The final way, or you can also vote, well, it's interrelated. The final way to vote is by going to an Elections Canada office in your riding. So the Elections Canada office for the Ottawa Centre riding is at 150 Isabel Street on the 4th floor. You go there with the same forms of ID. The process is in and out. So those are the 4 ways of voting. To vote in the Elections Canada office, the last time you can vote is Tuesday, September 14th by 6 p.m. To apply for the mail-in voting, you have to apply by September 14th, and your vote has to be in by voting day 6 o'clock in the evening. All the other ones are open. The one other thing that I want to mention as to how you can participate in this whole electoral process is by being a poll worker. It's late in the game. If you haven't applied yet, I wish you would. From my personal experience, being a poll worker is probably one of the most inclusive events of democracy. When you're sitting over there and you have these people who are as interested in the future of the country as you are, and you see them lined up and they're excited about voting, it's a priceless job, but you do get paid for it. Because it's so late, it's possible that you might just call it as a standby, in which case you go to the Election office. If there's an opening somewhere, there's a link to that. Otherwise, you stay there for about, I think, 2 hours. And if there's nothing, they give you, I'm not sure what the exact number is. 2 years ago, I think it was about $50. So either way, you do get paid. If there are any questions at all, the best place for you to find answers and get the most accurate information is at Elections Canada website at elections.ca. And I'm here for the duration of your presentation to answer any questions.
Well, thank you very much, Rakesh. I'm going to just remind our viewers, if they're with us through Zoom, that they can type their questions into the Q&A function that is at the bottom of their screen. We'll also be watching our Facebook page to see if anybody types a question or comment there. I have Danya Vasilik here from SUSK, which is the Ukrainian Canadian Students Union, and I know that she had a question or two. Maybe we can get to that now, Danya. From the student perspective, go ahead.
Yes, I do. So this actually comes from one of our board members. So what if you live in a student house that is in a different city than your home address? How do you find your polling station, and which address should I register under?
There are 2 ways. One is, do you want to vote in your original riding where you come from? To be able to do that, you have to go in and get a special ballot, again, which is same as voting by mail. If you want to vote as a resident of your college within that community, you would need you would need 2 forms of ID. You would go type in your postal code in the Elections Canada website. They would tell you which polling station to go to, and you're ready. So to vote for a different riding, it has to be voting by mail. And once again, as I mentioned earlier, time is running out, so you need to really get on it. If you're voting for it as, say, if you're a student at Carleton University or something, you can register. If you have a piece of paper that shows you're a student at that address, you can take all that, go to the polling station that's been identified for you and vote there.
Great, thank you. Danya, any other questions, or is that it at this point?
Yes, I have another question.
Okay.
This one is kind of in a different sector compared to the other one. So this one, Danya Pankov asks, do you recommend any reliable resources that can be used to help us learn more about the candidate platforms?
I think there are a lot of communities that have organized question and answer series sessions with candidates. All I can suggest in this case is Elections Canada is a totally nonpartisan body. We don't support or unsupport any candidates. So to get information about them, I would suggest you go to the candidates website.
Great, thank you. So we're going to just go, Rakesh, and talk about some of the resources that our organization has available. And so what I'll do is quickly switch to our website, if I can find it on my multiple screens here. And what we have on our site, ucc.ca, is a special page called Elections Your Voice. So I'm just going to share that now. And I'll ask Danya shortly to help me in scrolling through it. So if you go to ucc.ca, this is our homepage. Right at the bottom of the page, middle of the page is this Federal Elections Policy Guide. So the Ukrainian Canadian Congress has 6 policy priorities. They're listed here. There's a variety of details. And so these are the headers here. Each document has its own PDF, which you can click on and it will open up for you like this, and you can print it or you can read it. And we have a number of kind of recommendations that we've done on each policy area. Below the 6 policy priorities is our elections guide. And so we have it in English and in Ukrainian. And so I'm just going to click on it right now and have Danya help me read through it, if you can, in terms of what some of the key messages of our guide are.
Yes, definitely. So we would like to, again, let everybody know that we encourage everybody to have their voice heard in the election, and the best way to do that is voting. You can also find different ways on this election guide how to get involved. So you can check with Elections Canada, their website, make your plan. And you can also find this all on the ucc.ca website. So the next page, you can also then find questions to ask your candidates that is geared towards the Ukrainian Canadian community. So here you can see a couple of questions saying, do you support increasing Canadian international development assistance to Ukraine? Do you support establishing September as Ukrainian Heritage Month in Canada, as we have recently wrapped up our Ukrainian Canadian Heritage Day? And then you can continue to stay involved on matters of elections by joining the UCC mailing list also.
That document is available on the UCC page at ucc.ca/yourvoice2021, or there's a banner there that will get you there. It's available in English and Ukrainian. The Ukrainian version is just here in the middle. And we do strongly encourage people to follow all the public health guidelines and the information that Elections Canada has shared with them to participate in the election. And so we're happy to do that. The other piece that we mentioned is our policy guide, and we just sort of mentioned here. So there is one document that you can click that will pull up all of our 6 policy priorities in detail, should you wish to read them all at once. So it talks a little bit about what we do in our 6 areas. And again, we've got recommendations on each area. What UCC will be doing in the next week, in the week ahead, we've got a survey that has gone out to the leaders and the parties. And so our tradition is that we will receive the results of the survey and publish it. And so we're hoping to do that in the next couple of days. And it's a comprehensive survey on that asks questions about these various policy areas. Some of the questions that we had in our guide are included, and it'll list, because we're not partisan, our job is to provide the service to the community of listing what the answers are from each party on these various issues. And we let our voters make their minds up in terms of those kinds of questions and answers. So that should be coming in the next couple of days, and we'll do another live event to launch that and show people where that will appear on this page. And the documents Rakesh was mentioning, the guide to the federal election, we're very happy and thankful that Elections Canada has given us, we have an English, Ukrainian, and French version of this document. And there's many other languages available as well. We've posted them to our site so people have easy access to them. And I know I got one in the mail here as well, the English and French version. So that's very helpful with our voter ID card. So again, I think that's it in terms of our site at this time. We're going to go back to a couple of questions and answers that we have here in the Q&A, and I'll ask Danya to read the first one for Rakesh.
Yes, so the first one comes from Demetro. He asked, can I share who I voted for on social media?
Absolutely. You can. But let me add a caveat that you can only do that outside the polling station. Within the polling station, we strongly discourage use of social media or any kind of electronic device. We really strongly discourage any selfies and taking photographs of the process. So if you want to go out and stand next to an Elections Canada sign, say, I voted, you're absolutely free to do that. You can promote whichever candidate you want, but not from within the election site.
Excellent. Good question. Okay. I don't see any other questions on our list thus far, but if there's anybody else who has one, we have about 2 more minutes left with Rakesh here and Danya. My question is, Rakesh, I have just moved. So as somebody who's moved, if I haven't received a voter information card, what should I be doing? Who should I be reaching out to find out where my polling station is and where my voting information might be?
Again, it's a similar process. Go in to the Elections Canada website, find the polling station that your postal code is associated with. Go in with 2 pieces of ID. There's a whole list of identifications that you can take. Like I mentioned, you can take it electronically. Basically, we ask for things that have your name and your current address. If you, again, the one that is the easiest to have is a driver's license kind of thing that has your picture and your address on it.
Oh, we've lost Rakesh. So I'm just popping up the Elections Canada website here. Rakesh, we've lost your signal. Oh. We lost you the last 30 seconds. Can you repeat sort of what you said the last 30 seconds? We lost your signal.
Yeah, all right. So as long as you can hear me, I guess.
We can hear you now.
So what you have to go and take in your 2 pieces of ID. When you go in, the information officer tell him that you did not receive your voter information card, and he will guide you to the nearest registration officer. That registration officer will take your information and move you on to the next person that will take your ballot posting place.
Great. Thank you very much. So I'm just showing our viewers the Elections Canada website in English. There's some very colorful and easy to see buttons on how to vote by mail, registration, voter cards, and some other pieces here as well for accessible voting and ID requirements. So we definitely encourage that as a primary place for people to go, as you've mentioned. I don't see any other questions at the moment. So I think we're going to wrap up and just thank you.
Sorry, Ehud, there's just one more question.
Oh, great. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Can students vote on campus this election season?
No, this was an option in the last elections.
Yes.
But because of COVID and all things like that, no, there are no polling stations available at universities at this time.
Okay, good question, Danya. Okay,
my message thing I say is go vote.
Yes. So we definitely, again, the Ukrainian Canadian Congress and SUSC, the Ukrainian Canadian Students Union, are pleased to have presented this short presentation tonight. I think the key message, as Rakesh said, is to go vote. Every vote makes a difference. We know there's many ridings that have in the past been decided by very small numbers, very small margins of difference. So every election is important to have full participation. I know that tonight there is an English language debate at 8 or 9 p.m. I don't know what time it is exactly, but at 8 o'clock.
9.
9 p.m. Eastern. So in various time zones, there was a French debate last night and the English debate tonight. So it's important to also, see the leaders talking about their perspectives and policies, but also very important to support local candidates. Local candidates are out there door knocking, putting signs up, handing out information. And so if you do want to find out more about your local candidate, we encourage you to do so. And as I mentioned, just one more time mention that UCC has done our part to have a voter information hub here, our national priority hub. I'll put the screen up here again. And so we encourage our community members to look at the various policy priorities, whether it's education, culture, seniors, or Canada-Ukraine relations. Each of these has a number of interesting issues you can read. And then you can, as Danya showed us, you can ask your candidate their position on these. And we will, again, next week have we'll have our survey done from the party leaders, and that'll provide a really interesting view as to the party perspectives on various of these 6 topics and others that are important to our community. So we do want to thank everybody for tuning in and for participating. We welcome the opportunity to sort of share more voter information with everybody as well. So on that point, we'll close tonight's seminar. And thank you again, Rakesh, for joining us, and to Elections Canada. And again, we encourage everybody to visit their site and find out everything they need to make a plan to vote. I know I will be voting tomorrow. Tomorrow evening is my plan after work as part of the election advanced polling. And so, it's important for everybody to look ahead and to see how they can make a plan to get out there to do their democratic duty.
If I can add just one thing.
Please.
It's easy to vote and it's easy to vote. So vote.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I'm very gratified with the kind of work you people are doing all over the city. This has been I'm a bit of an election junkie, and this has been my opportunity to meet such fantastic people as you who are working so hard to encourage voting. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Good night, everybody.